Hi, everyone, and thank you guys so much for sticking around / coming back for the Q&A and panel discussion following Shorts Hereford. I am Jackie. I am with IFFBoston, and I'm so excited that we have a number of filmmakers with us for the shorts that you just saw. So without further ado, I would like to bring them onto the screen. Hello, hello. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. It's really great to have you guys. I wish we could obviously be doing this in person on a floor in front of a big screen in front of an audience, but it's okay. We're here. Maybe next year, fingers crossed, we can do something in person. But to sort of get us started, I'd love to just have you guys introduce yourselves. And obviously, the film you worked on is in your name, but in what capacity you worked on that film, what your role was. And let's start with Dianne. I'll call you guys out in the order that you are in my screen. So we can start with Dianne.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dianne Bellino, and I wrote, directed, and co-edited Strawberry Shake.
Great. And Bridget?
Hi, I'm Bridget Moloney, and I am the writer and director of Blocks.
Great. And Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Rosa. I'm the director and co-writer of Blocks.
Awesome. This is such a lady hour. I love it. I don't know. It's great. It's such a fun. And the short, the block too was really. I don't know. I'm so glad that we're all here. What brought you guys to your projects? That's always my first question, and I'm always just so curious how you got involved, and if you're the writer, sort of how that came to you. Whoever wants to take that one first, would love to hear more about that.
Sure.
Great.
So I wrote and directed Blocks. I made it as part of AFI's directing workshop for women in 2020. And we ended, our showcase was supposed to be March 13th, 2020. But I'd made the short and it had a premiere in person in January 2020, which
Wow.
Yeah, feel very, very lucky and special.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I made it. I have two little kids. They're the little kids in the movie. They're now a year older than that. And that's my house. We've since moved, but my old house in the film. And I had this idea of shooting. It's about a mom. You people watching this have seen it, but who starts vomiting Legos. And I had this idea. I wanted to shoot something MOS, just like a visual, almost gag, no pun intended, of a mom throwing up Legos, rinsing them off and putting them away. And then I was like, I think I could open this up into a larger thing. And so I decided to try to do that and applied to the AFI program again. I'd already not gotten in once with it. And that's it. And it's become this much larger project now since I've even made the short. And and it was just like a very personal thing I wanted to try to do metaphorically. And I think in a lot of ways I succeeded. So that's how I came to it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I feel similar to Bridget, where it kind of started as a small thing and grew. My main actress in my film, Janice, it was my neighbor who lived literally, if you fell through my floor 5 stories, you would be inside her apartment. Like, we had the same layout, everything. And similarly, thinking about, my film is about a woman who is selling a piece of furniture, but there's something else she really needs to let go of. And I was trying to let go of things. And I actually think that mirroring the character who was trying to get rid of this piece of furniture, I was trying to get rid of something. And the film was sort of the way I did it. And so it sort of started as something where I'm like, let's just make something together. Like, we live in the same building. We have friends who are free. Let's just do something. Like, let's be kids with cameras again. And then it kind of grew into this bigger thing. And I realized, oh, this is important to me. And then I finished it, and here we are. So yeah, similar, where it was like a seed of something really I could see in my head that just kept on becoming something bigger. Yeah.
Before I made Strawberry Shake, I had made a stop motion film. that's kind of surreal called The Itching. And so I was thinking of my next project, and I wanted to just do something that was kind of the opposite, like something much more grounded in reality and in real moments and in acting and down to earth. So that was one impetus. And then I have been thinking about motherhood a long time, maybe a decade, and I'm actually not a mother, but it's a very complicated topic to me. And so I was thinking about that. And then maybe my way into this particular story was I was thinking about how we talk to kids and like moments from our own lives when big things happen in your family and you maybe had like a talking to about something, but I feel like parents aren't always that honest about, you know, other stuff that's going on, but as a kid, you can feel it. So even though my movie is basically from the mother's perspective, I was thinking of this kind of shared experience of, you know, separation and mental health stuff. And then how you talk to children and this mother's kind of decision, like, I'm going to tell my kids the truth. And whether that's good or not, it's kind of complex. But those were some of the themes. And then I did write it for that actress, Grace Glowicki. So I had just like a sketch of an idea. And then I saw a short called Her Friend Adam that Grace is in. And even though that short is totally different, it's like a raucous, kind of R-rated comedy, I was just taken with her. And so it was really helpful. I didn't know her. And so I'm so glad that she agreed to do it. But it was just helpful when I was writing to be able to picture like a specific energy. So.
Yeah, I think the leads in all three of these shorts were so amazing and incredible. Can you guys talk, about the casting? And so Amanda, you said that the actress lived below you, so you knew her day, and you didn't like how how much did you write for these actors, or how did you essentially approach the casting process of these characters that were so obviously crucial to these shorts?
Well, for me, Janice was also my co-writer. So it was like an amalgamation of both of us, was kind of her character, exaggerated, unexaggerated, reacting to things. So that made it, that was easy. That was always sort of the vision of it. And then the other people in it, I really did write exaggerated versions of people I know. And often those people ended up playing those characters. So it's a lot of people who are also writers, people who are also like creatives and like to be in front of the camera that I ended up using, because it was really important to me, with it being a New York story, for people to look really like real New York people more than I wanted them to look like actors. And since we were doing it on such a small scale with such a small crew, it made it more fun that it was friends and we could ad lib and we could go on for a while, or we could try different things. And I think that's what made it like lively in some respect. So a lot of the credit, honestly, of my film, I owe to the people who are in it. Like any sort of spark and stuff like that. A lot of it was written, but a lot of it just kind of happened by them knowing each other, or getting to know each other, and us just rolling with it. So the process was sort of that. Yeah.
Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, anyone else want to take a, yeah.
I was going to ask Amanda a quick question. So I love seeing all the people in your film, but that last woman that comes in that buys the bureau, it was like unexpectedly touching when those two women shared that hug. And I just wondered if you could say anything about that moment.
Yeah, I always had that moment in mind. It was sort of like where the film was heading. Christine is my editor's wife. So I told you, like, everyone, it really is like a community of people. And originally I wanted both of them to be in it, but it was just her. And her and Janice, I think they were already quite good friends, but they really have a connection with each other that's grown since then. And I really think that moment is like the beginning of sort of a connection between two people in real life and otherwise. And Christine is just absolutely hilarious. Like she can make a really serious sentence be the funniest thing you've ever heard when you're talking to her on the phone. So it was sort of a given. I felt like she was there's an inherent trust that you have in her as a person. I felt like that's what Nat needed as a character. So she fit the bill for that. But thanks. I love her. I think she's amazing. So thank you. That's really kind. Yeah.
The lead in my film is an actress named Claire Coffey, who's one of my best friends. But she's also a really talented actress. And she was in an independent pilot I shot a few years ago that I had asked her if she'd do it. And we shot it ourselves, and it was this very exciting adventure. And then when I wrote this, I didn't write it with her in mind. But then I was like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, we've already done this once. And she was like, absolutely. And this was way easier because we self-produced the other thing. I can't believe I just said it was easier. It was only easier because we weren't producing. We were producing it. We didn't know. We're like calling in the craft service catering order. Like, at least someone else was doing that this time. So she's terrific. And then it was a similar thing. It was people I knew, like my kids. I'm friends. I'm in LA, and I'm friends with like a lot of East Side mom improvisers. And I was like, I mean, that seems mostly cut, but I was like, hey, who's around? And then my good friend's husband is Mark Webber, who plays the husband, and those are my kids. So the only person who was properly cast was Ruha Teslimi, and they are a really funny improviser. And a friend of mine who's a casting director, I was like, I'm looking for someone. And that scene's scripted, and the version that's there is mostly what was scripted, except better because of the actresses. But that was casting. Everybody else was people who were being kind to me and working for free. So yeah, that was that. You know, when we were younger, you could always find someone who'd be willing to do stuff. And of course, now it's like, it's way harder, and everybody
scheduling.
And I don't do it anymore. I'm like, I have to pay for childcare or abandon my spouse and children for the weekend or whatever. So this was a fun thing to get to do it again. And because of AFI and because the independent pilot had a little success, I had people willing to join up again, which was really fun.
Yeah. I have to ask about the Lego house. I mean, like, obviously, how long did that take to build, and how many people have worked on that?
So long, Jackie. So because I made it through AFI, I got a lot of production. You can hear my children screaming. We had a production designer who was a student at AFI, and she's since moved back to China, where she's from, but she was incredible. So we'd done sketches, and then it took like 2 weeks, and it was her intern, me, and then during my children's naps, my children's nanny would help us. And I was like, Sam is the only person being paid to do this. The rest of us are doing it for the love of art. But it took like 2 weeks, but it's all practical. People have asked me if it's CGI, but it's all practical. We built that, and it was so fun. And then we like took it down immediately because it took up too much space in the house, which was also so sad. Like the minute we shot that, we were like, sorry, no one gets to play with it. It has to go live outside.
Oh, God.
I could have never taken that down. It's so incredible. When we were moving into my new house, my partner was like, you're going to get rid of this dresser, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep it. I would keep that forever. That's so incredible. I love that.
I know it's hard when it's part of it. I think that I had, I was oversaturated. I'll say that. Like I was living, it was art imitating life, imitating art. And so I was like ready to, we have so many Lego still.
Yeah, I feel like Legos, I also do not have children, but I feel like everyone I know that has kids has this collection of Legos that seem to have grown almost organically in and of itself, that they're like not even fully aware of like how they accumulated so many of them.
There are so many of them. They're so small. They're everywhere. Now we have a puppy who eats them. I'm like, this is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a question too, also Dianne, about so the kids in Strawberry Shake are watching an animation. Was that an animation that was created for the film?
Yes. So that's by an amazing New York City-based animator named Maya Edelman. And that was just created for the film. And just to answer the question about just bringing the actors together, one thing that I get excited about is bringing sort of like actors with more experience and actors with less experience together, and just bring like that mix, the kind of like controlled chaos of like different types of people together. So like the kids, I mean, they're auditioning, but they had never been in anything before this movie. So I basically think of them as non-actors. And then Grace is a trained actor, and then her roommate John is a theater actor. So it was just interesting working with them because they all wanted to do totally different things. Like Grace wanted to work together a lot before the film. And then with kids, I just tried to bond with them. So we didn't like rehearse or do anything, but we spent time together. So one of the things that was kind of interesting was the different energy that they had. And I hope it works to the film's advantage of kind of like that feeling of like, maybe things are going to fall apart. But it was just interesting to me how they all have kind of a different process of how they want to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me wonder. I could imagine some inherent challenges in that also, opportunities and challenges. I guess I'm wondering, and for any of you, what were some of the main challenges you had in filming, or some of the more difficult moments, and sort of how did you overcome those challenges or face them? And that can be, I guess, logistically within the filmmaking process, or even emotionally, because some of these were, I mean, dealt with some pretty heavy stuff. So either or and.
Well, I mentioned that those are my children and that was my house. And the house was in LA, but built in 1918 and like very quirky and not a set. So like our camera operator, I have pictures of him underneath the sink in the upstairs bathroom, like resting on a sandbag. And also like like on the first day, I was like, what am I doing? These people are like in my house filming my actual toilet. And like, this is some sort of odd exhibitionism that I didn't know I had, that I'm like working this out, like people simulating sex in my own bedroom, like doing my dialogue. Like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing? But then I was like, well, it's a very personal film. But I did find that just the logistics of that were challenging. And, you know, like my little kids are not actors. This cured them of wanting to be actors. But like, you know, like I thought working with kids is hard. And so I was like, I'm going to work with my own. And in some ways that was great. We had a shorthand. And in others, like, you know, like there was no fear of me. Like there, you know, like, here, do this. And they'd be like, nah, no, which could happen anyway. But it's like I'm their mom and the director. And I think I, in a good way, was extra protective of I could read them better. So there was stuff where I was like, we're not going to get this. And I could have been wrong. And if it hadn't been my kid, I might have been like, let's go a few more times. We've got time in the toddler window. But because it was my kid, I'd be like, move on. But, you know, you live and learn. But the logistics of, like, my daughter got a nosebleed, which shut down production because it's a health hazard. And, like, we're in my home. So that was good. We all had changes of clothes. But, you know, it's that sort of thing.
Would you do it again?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I actually almost forgot because it's been a year and a half. And I was talking to one of Valerie Steinberg, who was one of the producers on Blocks, about shooting this other short. And she was like, well, you haven't shot anything in your new house. And I was like, that's true. No. I was like, no. For a second, I thought I was getting seduced again. But because it's such a savings, even though we had to have insurance and everything. But no, I wouldn't do it again.
Okay. Fair
Reminds me of that.
Okay.
Just to pick up on the working with children thing, there's that quote. Who said the quote about like never work with animals or children? You know that quote. So, of course, like I have 2 kids and a rabbit in my movie. And one of the things I found out, like I picked a rabbit maybe over a dog. One was it just seemed like a little more unusual, but 2, I just thought it would be easier to work with than a dog. But actually, I don't know if you guys have been around any pet rabbits, but they are incredibly nervous creatures, like really, really nervous. And so we actually had to have a rabbit handler on the set. And this is like, I wanted to keep the crew as small as possible, like any indie filmmaker, but it has this way of just like ballooning out because that you have kids and someone has to kind of mind them. And then you have a rabbit, and we had a special person who would come and kind of put the rabbit down and then pick it up and like make sure it wasn't getting mistreated. And we had a stunt, like I've never done that in a movie before. Like there was fake broken glass, and that was like very complicated. So I guess it's just always the thing on a low budget is you're trying to write small. And I think I had kidded myself that that I was writing small, but then when there's the kids and the rabbit and the stunt, it just ended up being like a completely chaotic shoot, to be honest. It was like totally nuts. And I think trying to keep the atmosphere positive for the actors when you're in that like crazy military production mode is challenging, because you're like running around like a nut, and then you go near the actors and you try to make your energy like calmer or just more open. So that kind of yin and yang.
That rabbit was adorable, and like my favorite kind, where they have short hair but like sort of like crazy like that sort of comes out from their ear area. So A+ rabbit casting also as well. Yeah, very cute. Yeah, and Amanda, what challenges were you dealing with on the set?
I did not have animals or children, so that is automatically different. But I think the thing that was challenging with mine is we filmed it over the span of almost a year. And a lot of that had to do with what Bridget, you were talking about earlier about like, we're not kids anymore, like not free every weekend for sure. And so like, it was kind of, there was a core crew of us, like our producer, Sean, my DP, Chris, Janice, and I, who were always present. But like everybody else, it was really based on like their availability, and they were so willing to be there, but it was like, we had to kind of work it out. So there was that part of it. And the other challenge was truly shooting in a very small studio apartment, as you see, when it grows. And like we were, to get lunch, we would be like just crawling over each other in the kitchen, like sitting on like people, just like 4 people sitting on my bed, just like eating. And I'm like, this is just how it has to be because there's nowhere to go. So those were the challenges. And the year of filming was sort of the specific challenge, I'd say. But yeah.
I think, I hope you guys can't hear. I live in this area where like when the wind is a certain way that Logan Airport planes like fly, right, they take off and like go right over my house. So hopefully that's not heard. Another question that came to mind as I was watching this shorts package was, I think all of these films in some way dealt with a change or a major shift or a rebirth, right? Or some sort of reset. And I'm wondering what each of you hope for your protagonist or any of the characters in your short after that reset has happened, where you hope that they are going or what you imagine happens next.
Well, I hope that my protagonist continues to set boundaries, but in a more practical and healthy way. That's like the answer. Yeah, I mean, I'm developing this as a television show, and so there's like different magic in each. I mean, I'm calling it magic, but it's magical realism. So, it's evolving, but like this piece of it, at least she's able to find some space for herself moving forward. What I hope just as a filmmaker is that the character can continue to have interesting adventures that I get paid to write and direct. That wasn't the question. So
I mean, it's also a fine answer to a question.
But yeah, I hope that she can continue to set boundaries for herself.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
I hope that for my character, she continues to, do what she's doing, honestly. Maybe hang out with that lady who bought her dresser a little more.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, not be afraid to say what she needs to say when she feels like she needs to say it. I think that's something I would hope for her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such an amazing question, and I don't actually have a specific answer, because I think one of the things I was aiming for was to show the total gray zone nature of where Charlie is at, and kind of the fact that even though she's come home and is sort of like getting stronger and all those things, that it's not a linear process. So I picture that she'll be kind of back and forth, both with her kids and with herself. And I think I was trying to honor, I guess it just feels true to life to me, that things aren't often like excellent or horrible. There's like this constant, just kind of like up and down, back and forth. You're like riding the wave. So I hope though, you know, I loved the character and I hope she does well, but I feel like she's probably going to be riding the wave.
Yeah. Great. We're almost at time, but I do want to know what you guys have coming up next. What's a project that you guys have anything lined up? It sounds like Blocks might become a television show.
I mean, that'd be nice. We have a studio. We have an offer from a network, so it might actually happen. One day. I'll put it out there. It's a new moon. It will happen.
Yeah.
And I'm developing a feature with some producers that's a high concept romantic comedy about astral projection. So that's what I'm working on. And I'd really love to be back on set. It's been a slow year for me. So, you know, I'm hoping to shoot something this summer, another short, or, you know, I've gotten a few things in, but that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm hoping for. So those are my two things right now.
Awesome.
I think that my next things are maybe trying to do something truly small, like an experimental short, because I haven't done that in a while. And I want to try and write something longer form. I've done a few shorts, but I haven't done anything long form. And I'm thinking maybe something serialized would be something that speaks to me a little bit, because I love short format. And I think that if I could join it together in different ways, that would be something I'd be really interested in. Yeah.
Awesome.
I am just starting, just the past month, kind of starting a feature script. I teach filmmaking at Pratt, and I have academic leave right now, so I have more time than I usually have. So I'm just kind of in the writing, in the dream hole.
Awesome. In the dream hole. Love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for being with us and for sharing your films with IFF and for participating in this conversation. I had a great time, and I hope that we can do something in person in the future.
One day.
One day. Fingers crossed.
And nice to meet you both, Amanda and Bridget. It was very awesome to see your movies. And thank you, Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Films as well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.